Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet Yevamot, pages 34 through 40. Lamed Daled, 34. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kol sheshata achar ba'ala eser shanim, v'niseit shuv enayoledet. Any woman who had been married and then was either widowed or divorced and went 10 years without a husband and then gets married will not bear a child. Amar Rav Nachman, lo shanu ala shein data linasei. So Rav Nachman clarifies that and qualifies it by saying that's only true that she will not give birth if she didn't have in mind to remarry at some time. However, if during that 10-year span it was her intention to get married, it didn't occur until some time lag, then it's possible for her to get pregnant. Amar le Rava le bas Rav Chisda. So Rava said to his wife, who was the daughter of Rav Chisda, Kamrani abatrech, people are going to say bad things about you because after all, you had been widowed for 10 years from your first husband and then we got married and then we had a child. So she says, no, all along I had in mind to marry you. So it's not like I was 10 years with nothing. I had in mind we would eventually get married. Lamed Hey. Tanya. A woman who converts to Judaism has to wait 3 months after her conversion before she gets married. So says Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because we want to know whether or not she was pregnant at the time that she was married, that she converted or not, and whether or not this child was sired in a situation of sanctity. So Rabbi Yossi matir le'ares. Rabbi Yossi says she can get erisin, she can get married, betrothed right away, le'nase miyad, and even also get married right away. My time, Rabbi Yossi. So why does Rabbi Yossi say that? Aren't we concerned that it was a possible pregnancy? So the answer is kasavra isha mezana meshameshes b'moch, that Rabbi Yossi is of the view that if the woman who's about to convert was having relations, she would have done so with some kind of protection, contraception, in order that she would not become pregnant. And since she knows she's about to become Jewish, she wants to protect herself to distinguish between that offspring which was sired in a state of sanctity and that which was sired not in a state of sanctity. Lamed Vav. Hakonas es Yevimto, one who marries his Yevama, v'nimtzet mu'ber, then it turns out she was already pregnant. So this was not supposed to be the case. He was not supposed to marry her if she was pregnant. However, they did. Harezu lo tinase tzaraso, so her co-wife should not yet get married to an outsider, Shemalev Vlad ben Kayama, because maybe it's possible that the pregnancy will not come to term, and this child of her co-wife, who is yet to be born, will not be a viable offspring. But wait a second, why don't we just follow the majority? And in the majority of scenarios, a woman who's pregnant will give birth to a viable child. The answer is that this child will not exempt the various wives of the deceased man from having to be in a yibum situation until that child comes out into the open air of the world. That while in utero, not good enough. Lamed Zayin. Kidsha, if a person were to betroth any widow or divorcee, within 3 months of her becoming available, at a time when she was not supposed to be betrothed because we're supposed to wait to see the possibility of pregnancy, and then he violated the rules by doing kiddushin, but then he runs away. One Amoraic opinion is, we'll punish the guy and coerce a divorce. Whereas the other opinion says, leave the guy alone. The fact that he ran away is indicative of the fact that he doesn't intend to fully marry the girl with chuppah until the proper time. So since he's not looking to violate the rules to that extreme, we'll let it slide that he did kiddushin too early. The fact that he ran away makes it kosher. Lamed Chet. Shemeret Yavam, Shnufal Lachasim. What happens if a woman is awaiting Yibum and money comes to her by way of an inheritance? So in this scenario, both Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel agree that she can sell such possessions or give away such possessions, and her transactions have legal standing. They have legal validity, meaning she's her own woman with respect to these possessions. She's not beholden to the authority of some man, whether her Yavam, who hasn't married her yet, or anyone else. Lamed Tet. Mitzvah bagadol yabem. it is the mitzvah, the ideal performance of the mitzvah of Yibum, if the oldest surviving brother of the deceased man were to marry the widow in Yibum. Lo ratzab, what happens if the oldest brother does not want to do so? Mahalchan al kol ha'achim. Then we'll go around to all the surviving brothers and ask them whether they want to do the mitzvah of Yibum. Lo ratzu, what happens if all the other brothers also say no? Chozrin etzel gadol will turn our attention back to the oldest brother. V'omrim lo, will tell him, alecha mitzvah. The obligation, the mitzvah is now incumbent upon you. Nobody, everybody else dropped the ball. It's now back in your court. O chalitz, either give a chalitza to this woman, o yabem, or marry her in a state of yibum. Now, likely, because he didn't want to do yibum the first time, he'll not want to do yibum the second time around. And what the outcome will be that he will give the chalitza. Okay, Daf Mem 40. Ha-choletz li-yavimto. If a man gives a chalitza to his yavama, behold, he is now like any of the other brothers with regard to the inheritance of the estate of the deceased brother. V'im yesham av. However, if there is a father, if the father is still alive, nechasim shalav, then the father of the deceased son will inherit all the possessions. So when there is no father, it's the brothers of the deceased to inherit, and it'll be equitable distribution because there was a chalitza, there was no marriage. But if there is a father, the father gets all. Then, hakones es yivimto, what happens if one of the brothers does marry the widow in Yibum? Zacham anachasim shalaviv. He will inherit all the possessions of the deceased brother, not just part of the possessions as a brother, but rather all of them as essentially a successor to this deceased man, which gives a financial incentive, a strong financial incentive, for a man to do Yibum and marry his former sister-in-law, because all the cash that was accumulated by his dead brother is now going to be his. However, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ben kach ben kachim yeshamav nechasim shalav. Rabbi Yehuda says it's not always the case. If the father of the deceased is still alive, then the father of the deceased will inherit all the possessions, irrespective of whether chalitza or yibum is done with the widow of his son, of his dead son. So now you have a scenario whereby marrying the yavama is not financially a prudent thing to do, because you're going to get nothing since the father is going to inherit everything. All you would get would be the right to marry the girl and raise a family, but that might not be a compelling enough reason to take on a particular spouse. Everyone have a great week. Chag kasher v'sameach to one and all.